Welcome back to the second half of today's matches. Us covering the StarLeague Season 2 here at GOMTV.net. Tastes and Artosis here. We just saw a pretty sick group, actually, with Parting and Supernova moving on.
Yeah, not in the order that you would imagine. Supernova taking first, Parting taking second. Unfortunately, Squirtle and Younghua not moving up. This gives us just 3 Protosses right now in that round of 16. But we have 2 more Protosses in this group, and in my opinion, they have a very good shot at both getting out.
Yeah, our Terrans, though, very strong here. We can't count them out. There is still a chance we could have 2 more Terrans moving on here, which would make our bracket here in the round of 16
look like a GSL Code S bracket.
It would absolutely look like a GSL Code S with not a lot of Protosses present in that phase of the tournament.
Yeah. Well, the 2 Protosses playing in this next group, I'm actually really excited about this too. Another 2 Protosses that are great. Rain, someone that everyone really knows, and every Protoss can and should learn from. He's the guy you want to steal builds from, specifically him.
Yes, him, I think even more so than Party. We're talking about solid ladder builds. Builds that you can use, whether it's against somebody that you know their playstyle very well, or somebody who you've never faced before, you don't even know who it is, a barcode on the ladder, for instance.
Absolutely. And then we have Hurricane, who is a very, very good, underrated, under-the-radar Protoss. He's done well in the team leagues and whatnot, but overall he is just a fantastic player.
He absolutely is, yeah.
He has a good shot at getting out of here as far as I'm concerned. He's very dangerous and well respected in the Korean scene right now, even though we haven't seen his full potential yet elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing if he's going to make a big splash here in the round of 32. You know, we have had a lot of upsets early on here in this tournament, but it's going to be interesting to see with some of these other Protosses how far they can get. You know, some of the people you might not have known as well, like Trap, doing very well so far in the round of 32.
Well, the trend actually continues. The sharpest Protosses are moving on. Parting, sharp, great execution. It seems like that is something that we're just seeing. Trap, this guy's just like an execution-based Protoss with really good build orders.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes me think maybe we will see Hurricane move on here.
Yeah, I'm hoping to. Only because you and I are both Protoss players, and this is Heart of the Swarm. Well, we need more builds.
If we get both these Protosses coming out, then we do have the 5-5-6 scenario, which gives you the best top
super exciting, and it's such a great story. Then again, when we have had low Protoss representation in a round of 16, we do tend to see at least 1 or 2 Protosses still get really deep.
Yeah.
So there's not too much to worry about.
If you're living in a day and age where your race just doesn't make it anywhere, and you are making it somewhere, people aren't even going to have practice partners to play against you because there's not many good Protosses.
That's a very good point, yeah.
So it's going to be very hard for them to even prepare. So definitely that factors into it. We'll see how far these guys get. I think Parting's going to go extremely far, and any Protoss that gets out of this group has good potential as well.
By the way, guys, get out there, spread the word that we are covering the Season 2 of the StarLeague here at GOMTV.net. A lot of people don't know that we're actually covering that. So tell your friends to tune in there. Get out on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and tell people to come down here. You can also come down to our studio and see Artosis and myself live here. I see you already have some new guests in the back over there that have just now joined us, and welcome to the studio. We are actually getting closer and closer to getting into this match. First match is going to be Bomber against Hurricane.
Yeah, that's going to be a very good match right there, I would say, Tasteless. Bomber against Hurricane. Who do you think takes this one? Because there's a lot of split decisions on this one.
I want Hurricane, I think Bomber.
Okay. I want Hurricane, I think Hurricane. Bomber is very scary. His macro's off the hook. He's got kind of his own style. But Hurricane he's very good Protoss. I think I like him in a best-of-1, man. I really do.
That's true. You know, a best-of-1, very different than a best-of-3. Not a lot of wiggle room. You're not allowed to make a mistake.
No, you are not. One mistake can end your run, send you down to that loser's match, which would be really hard because the second match is Keen going up against Rain.
And, you know, one thing about Keen is even though we don't really predict him to win in most of the brackets, this guy always knows how to eke out something.
Yeah.
He will cheese if he has to. He doesn't care if it's in 2 games in a best-of-3, even 3 games in a best-of-3. And he's gotten very solid mid-game and late game as of late.
Yeah, you know, everyone's seen that GIF out there where he puts on the sunglasses and just claps like that.
I love that.
It explains exactly who the kid is, right? Like, he may very well get out of this group. We don't know.
All right, our players for today's match in Group H, the final group, is going to be Bomber, Hurricane, Rain, and Keen.
is right. We've been over the players. I'm excited to see what stats have been assigned to them.
I'm especially interested for Keen because I know the non-Koreans have opinions of him, as do the the Koreans. But I want to see how they actually match up.
Yeah, that's he needs a category called Will to Win, where he has 100.
Yes, 101.
Yeah. So what would you do for a Klondike bar category? He's got 100 right there.
Bomber against Hurricane here. Bomber, a household name in StarCraft 2 by now. If you've watched any StarCraft 2 for the past year or two, you've certainly come across one of Bomber's games. Very robotic in his playstyle, a macro machine, but with a little bit of attitude. He'll nuke when he's ahead. He'll even nuke himself when he's ahead. He'll drop a lot of mules.
He'll do anything, Tasis. He's crazy.
He is crazy. Hurricane, I would say one of the players you probably know a little bit less about.
Yeah, he's also known as Tier, so you might remember that Protoss, but he did change his ID with his new skills. That he's going to try to rock Bomber, much like a Typhoon.
Indeed. All right, here is Bomber. I got to agree with most of these stats here, especially on offense, 91.
I would put his macro a bit higher. This guy, most of his strats...
I do agree with that. Now that I know it's that is way too low for him.
It doesn't need to be as high as, like, let's say, Flashes. I don't think his mechanics are quite that good, but his macro I would put as higher than 75. Generally speaking, he has more supply than other players at various points in the game.
Even Zergs, when they haven't attacked each other, his supply just starts to kick up.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, but... Anyways, I mean, the offense 91, that makes a lot of sense. This guy, he starts attacking, he's very powerful with it.
Yeah. And we've seen him a lot, whether it's in Korean tournaments or international tournaments. On to our next player, it's Hurricane.
And those aren't bad stats either. He's a pretty well-balanced player overall. Definitely does have strong micro, as they show there. A lot of these people that we see, succeeding in this best-of-one format do have a high micro number, and that's kind of, it's not necessarily a correlation, but, someone that executes very well oftentimes has very good micro, and execution means a lot in a single game, whereas overarching macro and strategy and stuff might mean more over a best-of-3 or a best-of-5 or something like that.
Yeah. So we are now very close to starting this game. Again, the map will be Belshire Vestige. Bomber up against Hurricane here. Now, Bomber, we thought he was going to win, especially in year one of StarCraft 2, Wings of Liberty.
Yeah.
We really thought he was going to be one of these guys that not even just won one GSL, but probably multiple GSLs.
He was
kind of like innovation for a period of time. Everybody's like, whoa, I don't know if you can beat this guy.
He was playing just barely second fiddle to MVP for a long time. But now he's like, I don't know, he's like an oboe or something tasteless. He's not even a fiddle anymore. Still very good, though.
I think you are paid for your job only to make me laugh. All right. In the upper left, in the red, we have our Terran legend. He is...
Master. StarTale Bomber.
His opponent in the bottom right, he is...
New challenger. FXO Hurricane.
All right. So we're on this map. Again, it's a one-on-one map. I don't know if that means we're going to see anything special as far as builds tailored to one-on-one maps, but we'll see.
I don't think so. Specifically on a 1-versus-1 map, your tailored build would normally be some sort of proxy, and it doesn't look like either player's going to do that. Bomber, he'll either go Reaper opening or Command Center first, I think, Tasteless.
Yeah, I think so. Probably into just a macro game.
Yeah, probably a lot of Marines. Hurricane, a little bit harder to predict exactly what he'll do. But we'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So, Artosis, how are you doing today? We got a little bit of downtime here until the builds pick up.
To be frank, Tasteless, I was really hoping a second Protoss would get out of that last group.
Me too, actually.
But based on how they played, they didn't really deserve it. Which is something you have to take into consideration. I'm really hoping that Hurricane and Rain step it up and actually play like players that deserve round of 16.
Yeah, I got to agree with that.
Because, I mean, everyone and their brother knows that I love Younghwa, but he underperformed a bit, and so did Squirtle.
And, from the moment I saw that missed force field there, I was surprised. And, you know, a lot of bad plays, losing his third base twice in 2 different games. That was a little bit shocking as well.
Well, it is a Reaper opening from Bomber. No big surprise here. Reaper opening, pretty solid on this map overall. Pretty solid really on any map overall, I would say.
Yeah.
It's just, you always get at least 2 scouts with it.
And that's nice because there's a lot of different things that Protoss can do early on in this matchup. So if you're able to get in there and get a peek at what that is, you can usually counter it.
Yeah. And what a bargain it is to Tasteless. I would completely, if Protoss had something of similar cost that got me 2 scouts that early in the game, I gotta tell you, I'd open that every game without exception.
The Zealot with the rocket pack on his back.
Yes, exactly.
Can still only do melee attacks.
I'm fine with that. He doesn't even have to attack, just as long as he gets in there and sees stuff.
All right, we have the second command center coming in here. Again, all very standard stuff. Bomber's build is actually one that wouldn't be bad to borrow if you're going to ladder online.
And, you know, in fact, he's even grabbing that really quick engineering bay, but very good scout by this probe. Of course, if he does go back and see the engineering bay, that's a little bit helpful as well. I don't think he's actually seen it, though. Yeah, he hasn't.
That probe is stuck. Is he actually going to get that? The scouting probe?
He got out.
He gets away? Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Wow, Tasteless.
Protoss power.
Yeah, you're Protoss.
You're a biased caster.
But he didn't see the eBay, but he'll be able to figure that out a little bit later. This is super common to see an eBay at this time right now. Get that 1-1, some medevacs out, stim combat shields, and put some pressure on. And that's what I do expect to see out of Bomber, of course. In fact, that's the only thing he can do with this opening.
Yeah. Looks like the Reaper's going to try to come up here. And he will manage to get away. He did get to peek and see that Nexus there. Little harass here by the Mothership Core, which will also get away.
Yeah, just trying to pick off anything he can. He still hasn't seen the eBay, but again, not the most impactful thing to not see it yet. Like, you can scout it a little bit later, and it's not really going to change your build order much.
All right, we have both players just teching very gradually here. We don't know exactly where from here the turn's going to go just yet, but we'll see. All right, another gateway here. This is a very good follow-up after you get that Robo Bay and the expansion up.
This game, in fact, so far is exactly standard. Oh, wait, no. We have actually an additional gate going up, so never mind. It is a little bit different here from Hurricane. He's looking like he's going to put on a lot of pressure. You know, going up to those 4 gates, but he does have the Robo too, so it's not all in. And it will be a bit slower than what it could be. But if he does some decent damage with it, that's going to be very, very nice, because he's left himself tech. He's continued to make probes. And yeah, he's well set for, he's in good shape.
He's in good shape right now, yeah. All right, so, yeah, I mean, both players are, I wouldn't say stabilized, but the game is normalized, you know? And when that Forge comes up here, we'll probably just go ahead and see that armor upgrade come here. Very important, probably one of the most important upgrades in the game here for Protoss.
Yeah. Now, we do have the really quick Warp Prism, and generally speaking, what this means is that he's going to go into Twilight and do a little bit of harassment. And he does have the 4 gates, so this doesn't actually have to be the pressure, because normally when you get the Warp Prism, you go right into 5 gates. But in fact, with the amount of sentries he's making, Tasteless, I think I know what's going on here.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that Warp Prism drop over there. The one that you can do either outside or on the high ground or on the low ground, but you force field the ramp.
Yes.
Isolate their army and just get in there.
This has been gaining popularity recently in this matchup. So we'll see if Bomber actually is ready for it. He actually has a group of Marines in a very good spot to try to prevent this.
Yeah, and you know, one thing to note is that when you're doing a drop like this, it's not only important does or does the Terran take damage, or does or does the Terran not take damage, but also does a Warp Prism make it out along with the sentries? Because if you lose all that, you're in a lot of trouble. All right, here we go.
Well, this is, we'll see if he can actually get this to work. He's losing a couple sentries.
Okay,
no, he picks them up. Good micro so far.
Oh my god, I can't believe he actually picked that up. I didn't.
Yeah,
he had that at first.
That almost went really poorly.
You know what was weird about it, though, is when he dropped the sentries out again with the Guardian Shield. You know, like, that was clearly not going to work to begin with.
You know what? He's killed 5 SCVs. It was like very good micro by Hurricane. I would have screwed that up and lost everything to be frank, but he saved a lot of it. It wasn't actually quite worth it, though, I would say.
No, I definitely think it was not quite worth it there.
He still has a Warp Prism, so it's not like a terrible thing, but the 2 Sentries lost and some Zealots lost, and slower tech to kill 5 SCVs total. I do have to say not quite.
The Dark Shrine follow-up is pretty interesting as well. It looks like what he might end up doing is actually hitting the front here with a huge army while force fielding the ramp and warping Dark Templars into the main.
Could be.
We'll see if that's correct, but that's what it's looking like to me.
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be some Dark Templar drops going on. And of course, you can always make some Archons, maybe defend a little bit with them as well.
Speaking of defend, by the way, Protoss is going to have to defend this double drop coming over here, headed towards his main.
Well, he's got a Colossus on the way. His charge is almost done. He does have an Immortal as well, so shouldn't be the hardest thing for him to defend. He's got to be careful, though, because if he does take damage from something like this, that would be really, really bad. He does not want to
scan over here. He knows that will not work, and he picks up and leaves with minimal damage.
All right, that Dark Shrine is done. He is warping in at the Warp Prism. 3 of them, in fact. Now, if he can get these in the main base and spread them, and hold this little counterattack that's coming up, as well as the drop that's going to come at the same time as the counterattack, he's in fantastic shape.
Yeah, Bomber will not be able to hold this, harass over here, but at the same time, if Hurricane's defense isn't properly set up, he could lose a lot more than we...
Yeah.
It's hard to predict how much he could lose, but because it'll depend on execution, but he could lose a lot here.
Okay, very well timed out Nexus cannon there. Now we do have this attack up at the front. In the meantime, the DTs are in the main base. He should be spreading them. It looks like they're all going to the mineral line. Well, of course, that's going to do a lot more damage, but...
I don't think he knows just yet. Now he does. He's pulling him out. The Nexus goes down. Not enough anti-air to stop this. Is the other Nexus going to go down as well? The answer is no as they pick up and leave. The DT drop has been deflected. But right now, there is a big empty space right... Oh, my God. Okay, he will not get this as well, but there's a big empty space right now in the middle of the Protoss' 3rd and the 1st where that 2nd was picked off.
Yeah. Well, he does have to remake it. Now, Hurricane isn't 100% dead because he did already start the 3rd, like, very early on and hasn't lost it. So, he's temporarily hurt, but Bomber's only on 2 bases, so it's not like the game is over.
Well, too bad he lost that Warp Prism. That's no more harassing there for him. That should allow Hurricane to stabilize here and get that 3rd base back up and running. Supplies right now for Terran, 121 to the Protoss is 102.
All right. Fire... I was going to say fire bats. Yeah, right. Hellbats on the way.
Hellbats. Fire bats are so StarCraft before Brood War.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They certainly were.
They certainly were.
This is so funny. I saw some funny quote on Sake's profile at the Home Store Cup. I don't know if he said it or someone made it up for him, but like, Hellbats should, you know, they get healed already by medevacs. They need to get stim as well, so they can be a real bio unit. You know.
That's so funny.
I just thought of that. That tickled me when I read it. Anyways. You notice the supply is pretty even still. You know, Terran can be up in supply a little bit against Protoss as long as they stay defensive. Hurricane actually being pretty terribly supply blocked. He has no pylons buildings at 126 for quite some time before starting any. So he's going to be behind in units.
SCV's pulled.
Ooh, that's good timing.
Not a tremendous amount, though. Just enough to maybe eat through the defenses here and take another Protoss Nexus.
I think it might be enough. We have, for splash damage, exactly 1 Colossus and 1 Archon. That's actually really poor for that. And
well, we'll see. This angle here is pretty good, though, for the Protoss. That's pretty hard to engage into.
Well, here we go. He is coming up. Those Hellbats coming up as well. The single... he does take down that single Colossus.
You know what? I think you're right. I think this is just barely enough.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough Zealots here to actually sponge up any damage here. Now this DT is doing a lot of damage over here in the main. Looks like the 2nd goes down once again.
Yeah.
Now he might not go up the ramp and instead just go to the 3rd base and take that out.
Well, at this point,
I think basically
basically over.
Terran has his army that just can't die.
Yeah, and he's going to kill the 3rd, and when you go down to 1 base, you're just kind of dead.
Yeah.
You know, he is dealing a lot of damage over on the other side. He's killed a lot of SCVs as well, but his army is so tiny.
He's going to chase him back here. We may see the Protoss tap out with a GG in just a moment here, as it looks like Bomber has rightfully won this game, game number 1 here in our final group in the round of 32.
Well, you know what, Tasteless?
What's up, Artosis?
That was a risk that Hurricane went for there. You know,
You're talking about the Warp Prism?
Yeah, because if those Marines aren't there, he probably wins. You know, he force fields a ramp, and then units are incrementing out, and he's chrono boosting and warping in Zealots, most likely.
Yeah.
Along with a bunch of sentries full of energy. Like, he probably ends up dealing a lot of damage to Bomber, but that's a risk. And Bomber was ready for it completely. He knew he had his bunker at his natural, and he had Marines in the main waiting specifically for that.
Yeah. You know, he was ready, and it seemed like from there, Hurricane did not have much of a plan. So,
yeah, well, I like the idea of the follow-up, the DT drop and whatnot, but a funny thing is they killed half as many SUVs as they should have because SUVs had +1, and they take forever to die, and you know
they don't die anywhere near as fast.
You know, if that was on a Zerg, man, that would have been a lot of dead drones.
That would have been a lot of dead drones.
But
we're going to go on to our second best of 1 here. Again, it is a best of 1. This is not the GSL Kodas. This is StarLeague Season 2. So, in the round of 32, if you lose just one game, you are in jeopardy.
Yeah. And
that's worse than the TV show. So
I was trying to make a joke about the answer to this question is a statement, Tasteless. You have to win.
You have to answer in a statement.
Yeah.
So we got Rain coming up here for the Protosses in this group. Rain, a very good player. Keen, though, Keen's hard to predict because Keen is one of these guys who I feel like wins a lot more than at least you and I, expect him to.
Yeah.
And
he's always doing upsets, but he's always like kind of floating around the top 32 and has been forever. Like right below or right above top 32, just right in that range. But definitely not a champion.
Definitely.
Sorry, Key. Maybe one day.
Well, we're still waiting.
Not this season, I don't think.
We got Rain here against Keen now. Now, Rain, I think I got to agree with you, Artosis. This guy probably has the best build orders to copy.
If you're trying to get better,
too fancy. Yeah, if you're trying to increase ladder rank and not be a Harlem Globetrotter or something, you want to go with somebody like Rain.
He should, on his card, have the highest defensive rating that we've seen.
I doubt we'll have it, but let's keep our fingers crossed.
He's so unbelievably good defensively. Like, I've never...
Now, here's a question. Is Keen going to cheese? Because he's done that a lot before.
I think actually what we'll see, I think we're going to see a 3-base SCV pull. He's going to try to hit right before Storm or right before, like, enough claw size, something like that. He's going to try to figure out what splash is coming.
2 Codasses ago, right?
Probably.
Right?
I mean,
we've casted too many StarCraft games to get these.
And we've casted Keen doing that so many times as well.
That's true.
I wouldn't be surprised if you told me it was any season.
Rain.
Yeah, notice his defense and macro, 89 and 91, 2 of the highest that we've seen in those areas. And that makes perfect sense because that's what he is. He's a defensive macro Protoss.
Yeah, so, this is going to be fun to see what he does. Rain is always on the cutting edge of good build orders.
Yeah.
And Keen is always on the cutting edge of winning regardless of how good the other build orders are. So
I like how you
summed that up.
We need that as a stat.
Seal that statement up, put it in an envelope, and end this series. Nothing else needs to be said right now. So, again, the winner of this goes on to face off against Bomber, whereas the loser goes on to face off against Hurricane.
All right. Well, let's take a look at what Keen's stats are here in just a second.
Keen is he's one of my favorite players to cast, I think, because he's so unpredictable. He's got a lot of personality.
Yeah, he has a lot of personality. It's
like the GSL would not be the GSL without players like Keen.
That's true. And, Parting's one of those too.
Yeah, sure.
In fact, I don't want to brag, but a lot of those nerds with personality are Eastro nerds, man.
They are.
That's actually
true. They learned
Parting.
from Artosis.
No, they didn't learn it from me, but
Artosis, can you teach me how to be social? And Artosis was like, no problem.
I wish it were. So.
So we got our Keen stats here. I would have put Cheese higher in that. personally.
I like that they put a 79 for strategy because he does choose good ones. Offense 82. You know, these seem about accurate. What they don't have is like a different, harder to measure thing to grade Keen
like
on.
X factor or something like that.
Yeah, like volatility or something. Well, all right. I'm ready for this to start.
I'm ready. I feel like we're probably going to see Rain go for some kind of robo. After expand, you know, get a forge.
If he doesn't, it's to trick Keen.
Yeah.
And I don't think he needs a trick Keen. I think he can actually play completely his normal. Here's actually a fact about Rain that I love about him.
Yeah, what?
This is actually one of my favorite things about him as a player is he plays as if he's way better than his opponent, no matter who it is.
That's very
true. What I mean by that is he will take the bad end of macro against anybody just to be extra safe.
That is so true because he always he's like defend. He's like, okay, I'm just going to put my sentries over here, and then I'm going to push out and get a third and a fourth.
And I'm going to have 3 observers this early. And
yeah, exactly.
Whereas
we saw with Hurricane, he just got that warp prism.
Yeah.
And
he's like, well, I'm going to take this risk. And it's not that Rain doesn't mix in other things, but most of the time he takes the bad end on everything.
Than less.
And that's actually something you want to do against Keen. You want to take the bad end of macro because over time Rain's going to out macro him anyways and just play that super defensive game.
Or at least should.
Oh, certainly should.
So looks like both of our players are now in our game.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully we'll be starting pretty soon.
What are the odds of Keen winning?
I'm
going to put him at like 33%.
33%.
0.3 repeating.
Belshire, Vestige,
close.
PVT, Rain. No, I'm going to give him 25%.
0.3 repeating.
I think no. I don't do repeating decimals, Tasteless. I always round. Life is too short to have repeating decimals. That's ridiculous. Really? Yeah, those should just be removed.
You round. I'm more of a truncator myself.
Truncator. I knew you were like an elephant. I'll never forget you, Tasteless. Yeah, I think that Rain, actually, stylistically speaking, matches up really well with Keen. If he takes the bad end of the macro, if he plays the super safe game, I don't know if Keen has anything sharp enough or good enough to beat him.
Yeah.
Like, over time, Rain's just going to storm you and Colossus you to death. Sorry,
well,
Keen.
Let's see what happens. Again, the map will be Belshire Vestige. The players, Rain and Keen. The winner is going to move on to the winners match, the loser to the losers, as we get that.